in the news for January the 6th, 2023. It is the first episode in the new year. And I keep looking over here because Jeff Richardson is right next to me in the flesh, in person. We are both in New Orleans. This is so fantastic, Jeff.
It is great to have us together. We are here in the beautiful Adams and Reese recording studio.
Which is really nice, by the way. Very techy.
Nice. But we're usually used to talking to each other on Zoom, so it's nice to be here in person. You've been in New Orleans for about a week. What have you been doing so far? What are some of the highlights?
It has been absolutely fantastic. So my mother-in-law, she has passed now, but my mother-in-law was from New Orleans. So we have been talking and catching up on all of the old neighborhoods that my wife has wanted to go and visit. So we have my wife and my two kids are here. It's pretty much been like, what's going to be our next meal?
You have found food in New Orleans. We actually do have food in the city.
We have been like, we go to Cafe Du Monde, we have the beignets, and then it's like, okay, well, where are we going to go next? Do we want a po' boy? Do we get a muffaletta? Do we get some turtle soup? It's like, we're planning like the next meal.
You were at Galatoire's last night, which is a great one.
Galatoire's last night. It has really been absolutely fantastic. I mean, we just been driving around, enjoying the sights and the sounds and, of course, the smells. There's unique smells in New Orleans, but it has just really been fun. The kids are absolutely loving it. I mean, just the whole music. You can walk down the quarter and you know, who knows what you... Yesterday, I think he's the bongo man, and which is great in and of itself, but he's got this little tiny dog, so he's sitting around. So when somebody wants to give him a tip, he has the dog go and grab the money and bring it back to him.
Gotta love the French Quarter.
I'm like, just watching that alone is entertainment, for the masses. It's just really been a fun time.
Well, we've had some food together. We're going to watch some live music on Saturday, so it's going to be great.
Yes.
Well, let's get to the topics for this week. So,
are you sure? Because we could just keep talking about New Orleans.
This could be the New Orleans
So
podcast. That would be good too. Yes.
Well, you had your post. I mean, this is the first one of the new year, and so much going on. By the way, I think we're going to talk about a couple of stories. CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, is going on. Some of this news, I think, has been sort of dovetailed in there, but some others. Why don't we start off? One of the things that you linked to was something I'm excited about, is Apple's MagSafe. We have talked about this a lot, and I found this out, and this kind of goes into the story. We have wireless charging in a car that we just recently purchased, but Jeff, I found that when I put my phone on this wireless charger in the car, it wasn't charging as fast as what I have found that my other MagSafe items are able to charge my phone. And I think you have an explanation why.
See, this is the thing. We've had two types of wireless charging for a while now. We've had the industry-wide standard, which is QI, but it's pronounced Qi.
Right.
I guess like a Chinese word or something like that.
Right.
And that's been one track. And then Apple has tried to add to Qi with all of its sort of extra features. Yeah. And that's what it calls MagSafe. And so all of the new iPhones, the back of them have little, battery here.
I got my little circle on.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so it can charge things. But MagSafe has had some additional features. What surprised me is that instead of Apple keeping this as like a platform advantage of using the iPhone, they have said, let's open this up to the world. And so the consortium that owns the Qi standard is working on Qi 2, and it looks like Qi 2 is going to be MagSafe, which is great because, we've had things like, when MagSafe first came out, I wasn't using it that much because the charging was not as fast. But over time, I have grown to really love the convenience of it. And the perfect example is, I've talked about before, the Apple MagSafe wireless battery.
Mine too.
You stick it on the back of your phone. It's just so convenient, and now I can see my phone's charging and everything else. It's really great. And in fact, one little device I have, Brett, I didn't even tell you that I had this. I just came in the mail yesterday.
Show and tell.
Yes, the show and tell. This is something
That's the Belkin mount.
This is the Belkin thing that I've been waiting for.
Nice.
It wasn't supposed to be delivered until later this month, but I actually got it yesterday.
They knew we were doing this today.
Exactly, for the show. And the idea is that when you're talking to a computer, instead of using the built-in webcam, which is not that great of quality, you can just rest this on top of your monitor. You can take your phone and you can use the MagSafe to connect to it. And so this would be sitting in front of your monitor, and you're using the far superior camera of the iPhone, and this thing makes it rest there, which I used it as a test last night on my iMac, and I switched back and forth between my iMac quality, which is not great.
Right.
And then you switch to the iPhone 14 Pro camera quality.
It was good.
I looked so much better. I'm like, wow, look at this. This is great. So it's great to use. And in fact, I'm going to be exploring over the next week or two if I can actually use this on my Windows computer too, because there's some software called, I think it's called Camo, C-A-M-O, if I remember correctly.
Yes, there's a couple of apps.
I want to look into that.
Right,
so,
Camo.
but this is just another example. But the point is that having these interesting and innovative ways to use MagSafe, because this is just using its MagSafe.
That's not even charging.
It's
that's
just a magnet.
Using the
it's just a magnet.
Okay.
But this is what I want to see more of. And once MagSafe is the Qi 2 standard, the hope is that you're going to have more third parties that don't need to get licensing permission from Apple. They can just come up with cool things to do, and then they'll be out there to buy. And I'm sure they'll be cheaper as well. So this is great. I mean, this decision comes this week. You know it's going to be a year before we actually start to see. But we're now on the path towards wireless charging and other non-charging wireless uses like this thing being more plentiful, which is awesome.
So Qi is a standard that is also used by Android devices, right, and others. And so that's one of the reasons I think that it is sort of a little more generic, if you will.
Exactly.
But I see, so the story that you linked to was talking about that a regular Qi will work with, a regular Qi charger will work with an Apple iPhone, but if it's not licensed through Apple as MagSafe, it limits it to 7.5 watts, right?
Yeah, it's about
but
half
if
the
MagSafe, it'll be 15 watts. And that was one of the reasons I think I was seeing a sort of the slowdown, because I don't think our car is like, MagSafe licensed. It is Qi, and it works, but it's very, very slow, much slower on that.
And even the 15-watt charging, I mean, that's still not super fast.
Right.
But it's not as fast as plugging in a lightning cord. But it's fast enough that for casual charging, just the convenience of you put this thing down, and it gets a charge while it's going to be sitting on a desk anyway while you're not using it. Why not top off the power? So so I think it's great. So it'll be great to see, in the future, non-licensed things that could have the full-speed charging. And who knows, maybe they'll come up with some even more advancements in the future. It's great.
Well, we mentioned CES, and I know that is going on right now. We're not there. That's okay. I'm having much more fun here in New Orleans. But a couple of things that you had linked to that were coming out. We talked about my Ember mug last week, which was really, really cool. And they are announcing the Ember Travel Mug 2 Plus, which, man, they just shoved all kinds of stuff into this, it looks like. Not only will it keep your beverage warm, but it's like the Find My technology is embedded into this mug as well.
When I saw this story, I loved it for two reasons. First, I loved it because you love your Ember mug so much.
I do.
Was a great gift from your daughter. But the other thing that I loved about it is I remember, was it a year or so ago, Brett, when Apple said that third parties could use Find My technology.
That's right.
And there were things like a bike that had Find My built into it. So if you couldn't find
like
your
a
bike,
backpack,
or if it was stolen, you could use the Find My technology to say, where in the world is my bike? And so this is a perfect example, a travel mug. Where did I leave my, is it at the gym? Is it in my kitchen? Where is it? And you could just use the Find My app on your iPhone and say, that's where my is. Plus they have a built-in little speaker in it. So if it's somewhere in your house, you can press a button and you can make your mug beep, and you can find your mug that way. So I just thought that it was another example of a great use of Find My plus one of your favorite products.
And you're going to want to make sure you know where this is. The price tag is $199 on this.
You don't want to lose it.
You don't want to lose it. Another quick story, which I just on the topic of a smart kitchen and smart devices, the Samsung is having a smart oven, which I don't think is brand new, but you mentioned it here that the thing is new is that it can look at the food you're putting in there, right? And help you cook or know what to cook. Like you don't even. This is the Jetsons in reality. I think
it is pretty funny, and it said something like it knows 82 different dishes. I'm thinking, my wife's a pretty good chef, but she certainly makes more than two different things. So there's going to be I don't know how it's going to really help you, but using the camera, I guess it'll tell you, your roast is ready or whatever. I don't know. And they said in this article that Samsung was encouraging people that use Twitch, which is that live video thing, to have live Twitch streams of what is in their oven. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you had a baking
it has an internal camera, Jeff,
so you can
even live stream the view from inside your oven. Come on,
a little silly.
I mean, that is the reality. reality right
But
there.
the iPhone angle there is that you could use your iPhone to do something like, I'm on my way home, preheat the oven to 350 degrees.
That is
Maybe.
cool.
I guess you could
I
do
like
that.
it.
Or if you're cooking something, and you're a different part of the house, you can say, what does that turkey look like? And you can see a picture of it in your phone. Like I said, my wife's a pretty good chef, and I mentioned to her this technology, and she rolled her eyes. And I think that was probably the appropriate response.
Appropriate.
But,
She's not going to be live streaming her gumbo.
She will not be live streaming gumbo. So.
Now, we've talked about the iPhone 14. We both have the Pro. Love it. Love it. However, I keep feeling like I'm not getting the full battery life out of it. And I'm glad that you linked to this story today, because this is like video proof now that I'm being a little crazy on this. I loved how they positioned this in the video here.
People have been concerned that, and I love this about my device, that the screen is on all the time. So even if it's in its rest mode, I can look down and I can see, right now there's a picture of my son from a couple years ago when he was much cuter, and I can also see some alerts on my screen and the time and stuff like that. But people are worried, how much battery life is this eating up to have all of this stuff on here? And the test that I linked to in the post today says it's like much less than 1% per hour. And so when you think about it, I mean, how many hours during a day? Maybe I have 8 or 9 hours it's going to be sitting there. It's really not going to make a huge, I mean, maybe for some people 8 or 9% is a big deal, but for most uses, it doesn't take up that much power. And they point out in this article that you can even, and one of the new things about the OS is instead of having a picture on the screen, you can have a black screen.
Exactly.
So that
We're just looking at that here.
Yeah, so the only thing that have you tried it out yet?
I have. So it's always on display. I love this. We can actually show each other, right, since we're sitting next to each other. But you can have the always on display, but then I say turn off show wallpaper on there.
There you go.
I still have show notifications, but when it sits down, it just goes blank.
Just completely black, but you can still see the time.
I can still see the time and notifications still pop up.
So because there's even less going on the screen, the test showed that used even less battery power. Although it's such a tiny bit less, I really don't think at the end of the day you would notice it that much. But so it was good. It was reassurance to me. I was hoping someone would run this test. Am I really wasting that much power to have what is just a fun feature? It's not necessary. And I'm glad to see it wasn't a lot of power, because it is nice. I mean, when you're sitting here working, I can glance down and I can see what time it is on my phone without having to tap it to open it up or look at my watch. So I'm glad to know that that's not a huge power suck.
I've gotten used to it. At first, I was in that camp, and I know we talked about some stories from John Gruber and others that were like, I don't know if I like this because it's on too much, and that's got to be doing more battery drain. But anyway, I'm just glad that you linked to that, because now I know I'm the crazy person here, and I just need to make sure that I don't need to worry about it too much anymore. We have talked about the Apple Watch quite a bit, and I know we talked about a few weeks ago, I went on my hiking trip and I used my Apple Watch Ultra, which performed brilliantly. I also use my iPhone from the standpoint of GPS. Now, I like this story, and I don't think most people are going to kind of pretty much understand, the difference, or maybe not even see much of a difference. But Apple Watches now can do GPS independently of an iPhone.
Yeah, for so long, the Apple Watch, including the one that I use, it knows where it is first and foremost by where the iPhone is. And the idea is that typically your iPhone and your watch are going to be in the same room, perhaps both in your body. But my watch does have GPS in it, so if I leave the iPhone at home and if I go for an outside run, it will then use the GPS that's built in, but only in the backup. And I really think that's a battery saving measure is more than anything. But so the newest Apple Watches, the one that you have, the Ultra, the 8. And the newest version of the SE, they will use their own internal GPS. And in the case of your watch, it's actually more accurate, right? Because your watch has 2 GPSs in it.
Correct.
So it's supposed to be much, and we've talked about that it's much more precise. So, but what was interesting to me about this story is not what GPS you're using. I mean, that's just sort of like a little, tidbit knowledge type thing. But it's another step towards the Apple Watch being an independent thing. There will one day be a day is going to come, I know it's going to happen, where you can buy an Apple Watch and use it even if you have an Android phone instead of an Apple. Now, there may be, Apple may want for lock-in not to have that happen, but I would love to have the Apple Watch be so independent that much like you don't need a computer to use an iPhone, the iPhone's its own thing, I would love the Apple Watch to have all that stuff built in, to be fast enough, to be powerful enough, just to be able to take care of itself, and then it will really sort of come into its own as a full computing device.
Well, and once all of that does happen, Jeff, it's good that you linked to this story as well, because once the Apple Watch can stand on its own, this was a list of 10 games that you can play just on your Apple Watch. I got to tell you, I was a little upset with you this morning because I'm going through some of these, and of course, I had to try several of them, Jeff. And so I'm here playing like Dare the Monkey Go Bananas on my Apple Watch, and I'm like, okay, this can't be that great. But it was.
Okay.
I had a great time playing games on my Apple Watch.
I also had never heard of the Dare the Monkey Go Bananas game.
Exactly.
But I did the same thing as you. I put it on my Apple Watch, and it's just one of these simple jumper games. You know,
Right.
It's an endless scroller, and you scroll your little what
It's a digital crown.
You scroll the digital
That's
crown
how you jump over.
to make the monkey jump up. And if you scroll more, he jumps higher, and you just keep going as far as you can go. And it's a silly game, but the graphics were surprisingly good. Frankly.
Amazing to me.
And
Amazing.
If you're just sitting there in a waiting room and you're looking to kill 2 or 3 minutes, you can make the monkey jump up and down on your watch. So I really never play games on my watch, but then I looked at this list and I'm like, you know what? There is actually something there. So I was amused to find out. So if you're just curious, take a look at the list. There's a Pong one in there. There's some others in there. It's interesting to see that the games are surprisingly, better than I would have expected
I
for
have
something
to tell
like
you,
the watch.
one of the things I also did was I visited the App Store on my Apple Watch.
That's how I downloaded it, yes.
Which I had always had in my mind, because I think this is the way when it first came out, that you had to go on your iPhone, find the app, and then install it on your Apple Watch through the iPhone, right? Now I went straight to the app, and I got to tell you, I spent several minutes just scrolling around the available apps on my Apple Watch. Like there's a productivity section, there's the game section, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like I need to spend a little more time on just looking at apps in my watch.
Yeah, no, it's true. There are real apps there, and the App Store has developed a lot more over the years than you might have expected. There's some real things there, which is
so
what we always. Again, it's that moving the Apple Watch towards being its own thing, where it's got its own world, its own apps, its own capabilities. It's great.
You talked just quickly on the graphics. It just makes me think. I remember the graphics on my Atari 2600,
of course,
and to see how far we have come, and just now that the graphics look amazing on my Apple Watch, and where are we going to go with that? I mean, it's just like you said, it's just the continuation of it. Let's talk some travel.
Okay.
I just traveled. You just traveled a few weeks ago. Here's a couple of things that came up. Let's see. The first one, of course, another episode and another story on AirTag saving luggage. But boy, Heidi, isn't this great after all of the craziness we had over the travel holidays? Everybody knows the headlines about the flights getting canceled and just the tremendous aspect. We've talked about using AirTags in luggage. Not only was, I'm sure it saved a lot of people on the luggage aspect, but there was one individual that took to Twitter that just had an amazing story here, and I'm glad that you had a link to it today.
Yeah, this one went viral. In fact, I heard about this one. I knew that this would have gotten to the public information because my wife mentioned it to me first.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm like, so
that's how you know.
She's not reading the tech blogs. So if it was viral enough for her to tell me about the story, and when I first heard about it, I'm like, okay, this is just yet another story of someone finding their lost luggage using the AirTag.
I thought the same thing.
A great story, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But what gave this one an interesting twist is that this woman, she was flying United. I mean, I'm sure it could happen at any airline.
Of course.
But United was telling her, oh, don't worry, we have your luggage. It's in our secure luggage storage area.
Right.
But then she looks on her watch or her phone, and she sees the Find My. It's not at a luggage storage area.
Because of the AirTag. She had an AirTag in it.
It's at an apartment complex. And she's like, what? So she ends up getting a local film crew, and they go to the apartment complex, and they find her luggage along with tons of others.
Yes.
What was the luggage doing at the apartment complex? It makes no sense, and fortunately nothing was taken or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you that, it's nice to be able to be empowered to, you don't necessarily have to trust the airline on where is my luggage, where's my this. I can see myself where it is just by tracking the AirTag. And I mentioned on last week's show that when I traveled last week, we had issues and my flight was canceled in Delta. And when we finally got on our flight, we had to check bags, which was not I was planned on doing a carry-on. But I love that when my plane landed in New Orleans, as we were, coming down the runway, in fact, I guess as we approached the gate, I was able to look at my phone and see that my luggage was also in
there,
New Orleans.
right,
And that just
right.
gave me a little security. I'm glad it's not still in New York. Thank goodness it's here. Because I've had lost luggage before. I'm sure it's happened to most of us at some point.
Definitely.
It's no fun. I mean, nothing's worse than going on a trip and you land there and you
Right.
have no luggage. I mean, it's...
Or just annoying. I like the empowered. That's a good word for that.
Mm.
Just like I just want to know. And today, a lot of the airlines have the ability you can track your luggage in the actual airline app.
True.
But I feel like, you know what? I'd like to have an extra layer.
Trust but verify.
Exactly.
Trust but verify.
I don't mind having an extra layer on that one at all. If you're flying Delta in the very near future, I've seen that they have been teasing this story, but I'm glad that you linked to it today. Because one of the things that I rarely ever do is get on the Wi-Fi in flight, Jeff.
Because it's so expensive. That's
It's
probably
either
the reason that
expensive,
you've never done
and
it.
even if you pay for it, it's usually not that good. But you know what? I could see myself flying Delta for the fact that if they are offering free Wi-Fi while you're in flight, hey, why not take advantage of it?
Yeah, this
I mean,
has
who
been-
knows where it could go, but I'm just glad that somebody is at least doing this because I think this should be something that should be standard, personally, on all flights.
And both of the things that you identified have solved themselves. First of all, within the last year or so, because airlines have changed technologies,
Right.
Wi-Fi has
Right.
actually gotten pretty decently fast. You can actually
Better,
get
yes,
real
better,
work done
right.
with Wi-Fi.
That is true.
If
That
you
is
pay
true.
for it. And then the next step, and Delta has said this was coming. I didn't realize they were going to have a partner, but they announced this week that T-Mobile is going to be their marketing, their partner for this.
Right.
That if you're on a Delta flight, even if you don't have to use the T-Mobile service,
Right.
you can be AT&T customer, whoever you are, but through T-Mobile you will have free, starting February 1st, free Wi-Fi on
Yeah.
Delta flights.
Yeah.
And so whether you're using it to get work done, just to chat with a friend, do whatever, and because T-Mobile is sponsoring it, I'm sure there'll be some sort of ads that they
Oh,
get
I'm
to
sure,
that.
yes.
But having Wi-Fi that's fast and free. I mean, those are the two barriers that you mentioned. And so
Right.
now you'll be able to get stuff done, or check up on your travel plans, or if there's an issue in the air and you can see a delay.
Find your AirTag.
If you need to change a reservation or something like that, to be able to have the power to do all those different things with Wi-Fi, it is useful. And I have found myself over the last decade using Wi-Fi in a plane has definitely gone from this is living in the future and this is too
Yeah.
expensive and this is crazy
Right,
to this is actually useful,
Yeah, exactly.
and I really want to do this and take advantage of it. So, so this is great.
I'm just
so Delta
glad to
has
see
it
this.
now.
Yeah.
I'm sure other airlines will be offering it soon. But wouldn't it be great if a year from now
Yeah.
we're living in a world where you just get Wi-Fi for free, much like you would expect if you walk into a coffee shop. There's going to be Wi-Fi at
Exactly.
use. That would be
exactly.
great.
Yeah, I remember the days we would get on, and well, even still, some planes, it's like, oh, sorry, they have to make the announcements, like, sorry, the Wi-Fi is down. But even in the times when I haven't paid for Wi-Fi, you can at least maybe like check the airline app, right? Or it'll give you like the updates on the flight, that kind of a thing, which I like. I just like to kind of see how much
Yeah.
further we're going, that
Yeah.
kind of a thing. But yeah, for me, I don't know if I would necessarily. I see people streaming videos and stuff like that all the time. I don't know if I would necessarily do that, but if nothing else, just to get access to like email, download the email, or I want to like sync something to Dropbox or something like that, then I may jump off of it or whatever the fact. But yeah, I think that this is nice that it's coming in. Good job, Delta.
And these stories go
starting on
together
that.
between this one and the AirTag story.
Yes.
Travel is necessary, and it's great when you travel because you get to go to a new destination, like you coming to New Orleans.
Yay.
But we all know the headaches associated with travel.
Right.
So all of these
Right.
things between AirTags and Wi-Fi, just to sort of deal with some of the nonsense and give you the ability to be on top of things
Yeah,
more. That's
absolutely.
just so much better.
Let's round out with a breakdown of some shows coming to Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
First of all, I didn't put it up here, but you had a quick video from Slow Horses.
Oh, I
You
love
just
it.
finished season 2. We finished it, I think, last week.
Oh, you
my
did?
wife
I
and
wasn't sure if you did. Okay.
No spoilers. But oh my goodness, so good. Like
Such a great
I
season.
enjoy all of the characters in there. Again, just the storytelling alone is fantastic. So Slow Horses, 2 thumbs up on that one. I
Yeah,
would say
and-
go and check that out.
We discussed last week how Apple TV Plus has come from just having 4 shows when it debuted
Right.
to having so many fantastic shows. And this one, Slow Horses, is just really, it's a great little show. Season 2 is even more fun than
Yes.
Season 1.
Yes.
I loved it. If you haven't
Yes.
checked it out yet, look at that video at the end of my post today. And if anything about that video appeals to you, I think that you would love the show. But again, Apple's not resting on its laurels. This article here is some shows that are coming next year. And it's not loading on my iPad right now. But there's some cool stuff coming. Like one of the first ones on there, what is it called? The
Masters of the Air.
It looks like it's a Spielberg production.
I can't wait for that.
Did you ever see like the Band of Brothers and all those sorts of shows way back? I mean, those are so incredible. And this looks to be like another one in that genre. It's a World War II story about what is it, like some people attacking.
They are basically like the Air Force, the U.S. Army's 8th Air Force, which is the bomber force that took the fight to Nazi Germany. So basically. You know what I thought of? I don't know, but here's another quick New Orleans tie-in. Memphis Belle. Do you remember that movie? It starred Harry Connick Jr. That was like his acting debut, if I'm not mistaken. But it was about this group of whatever, the squadron or whatever that was in this bomber in Memphis Belle. I love that movie.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started reading this, because when you linked to the story, I'm like, okay, the shows aren't here yet, and maybe I'll get excited. But there are 3 or 4 in here that I was just like, I cannot wait. And this was one of them.
This one looks like it's going to be big budget, major production, very exciting. Have y'all seen the World War II Museum since you've been in town yet?
Tomorrow. We're trying to go tomorrow.
Great in New Orleans.
I know.
But also,
we're excited.
All this sort of stuff. But that's the first one on that list. The second one on the list is a comedy showing, what's the name of it? It's
Shrinking.
Shrinking.
Yeah.
It's Jason Segel, right?
Yep.
And Harrison Ford.
And Harrison Ford,
I don't
Han Solo, is going to be in
Ford
this.
has ever been in a comedy before, but he actually is funny. I've seen him in interviews. So this one I'm looking forward to. And you go through the list, and I think there's 8 or 10 shows listed here that are coming out in 2023. Whatever genre you're interested in, there's going to be a show coming in there. There's some sci-fi thrillers coming, and then that's on top of in fact, one more thing about that Harrison Ford comedy.
Yeah.
You know who's doing it is Will Lawrence, who is the guy behind Scrubs. Bill Lawrence.
Ted Lasso.
But Ted Lasso, exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the characters / writers in Ted Lasso, Brett, is it Goldstein?
Goldstein.
There you go.
Very good, Jeff.
He is involved with it too. So like people that have done incredibly good comedies are behind a promising comedy with great stars. It's got great stuff on it. But then there's some dramas and some sci-fi. So there, and then I was going to say there's the season 2. I just saw that the season 2 of the sci-fi show Foundation, I think it's called. There's so many stuff coming up.
I want to
Apple
see that.
TV Plus is going to be great this year.
I didn't like the way that ended in season 1, Foundation, but
we'll see how it picks up this year.
I knew about Shrinking because as we were watching Slow Horses, at the beginning, before, like, instead of running an ad, they Apple TV ran an ad for Shrinking.
I noticed that,
The characters are on, like, a trampoline or something like that. And at the end, I guess Jason Segel, he's standing there, and Harrison Ford walks by. It doesn't even say anything. And he just kind of blows him off. I mean, like you said, he's very funny, and it's just going to be good.
It's going to be dry humor. It's going to be funny.
And then another one I'm very excited about is called Wool, which is Hugh Howey's Silo series.
Have you heard of that?
I have, and I've never read them. There's 3 of them. They've been on my short list. But I know about it because I usually like the post-apocalyptic thing, and this isn't spoilers, but it's basically people living in underground silos because the Earth has been devastated from something. I don't remember what it was, but that to me is going to be. I love the science fiction aspect of it. So Wool is another one that I was
not familiar with the book, but when I read the preview of it, I'm like that's one I'm going to definitely check out.
Hello Tomorrow. There's salesmen that are selling like timeshares on the moon. I mean, come on, that's just going to be fun.
And it stars the actor from the morning show who got the I think he won the Academy Award or he was nominated for it. I forget. So that's some great stuff.
That's so fun. I know we spent a lot of time on that, but I just love talking about the shows because both you and I are.
I mean, what it comes down to is if you don't currently pay for Apple TV Plus, there's enough stuff on there that it's probably worth checking out for at least a month or 2 to sort of binge a bunch of great stuff.
And I think the article mentions in here if you get a new Apple Watch or an iPhone or something, there's some purchase that you can get 3 months of Apple TV Plus. Check on that. If you've made a purchase over the last, for the holidays or something like that, then check on it. In fact, I remember on my iPhone, after you go into your iCloud settings, it'll say, do you want to redeem your 3 months of Apple TV Plus? I mean, you can watch a lot in 3 months, right? That's a lot. In the know. I think we both have a travel-related tip. I'll go first on mine. Because we actually drove down to New Orleans from Ohio, which was not
how many hours total?
So it was about just over 15, I think. So we did it in 2 days, but it was great. The main thing is of course when you're traveling with teenagers, some of which started school or had some school responsibilities to take care of. As we're in the car for all of that time, not only did they need to do school, of course, the son wanted to watch some YouTube and stuff like that as well, but we need to have internet access, right? So we all have iPhones, and I have the kids on a lower end version of the AT&T plan, which does have a mobile hotspot, Jeff, but it's limited, right? They get capped or they get throttled at a certain amount. Well, of course, Daddy, I have the full version, the higher end version of AT&T, so I have a much higher cap on there. Anyway, I told the kids for the school, like, I want you to be online. I don't want you to have any glitches or anything like that. So I'm going to share my mobile hotspot with you. Now, you can already allow anybody to get onto a mobile hotspot, right? In fact, if you go into a mobile hotspot, you want to make sure that you put a password on there, because sometimes even when I travel, I'll see various other people's iPhones come up in my Wi-Fi. I never tap on them, but if I did, hopefully they have a password. I couldn't join it because I'd have to type in the password. But if you have family sharing turned on, which is something that I do, so I have my whole family here within family sharing. If you have that turned on, you can go into your personal hotspot. And here I've got a couple of articles that I'll make sure I put the link in. And in the personal hotspot, in your settings, you have a family sharing aspect. You can turn that on, and then all of your family members will be listed there in the settings. So one of the things that you can do is you can say, I want to make sure that all of these individuals can jump on my hotspot without having to type in a password. So right off the bat, I don't have to share the password, tell them the password. I can just say, if they're part of my family sharing plan, they can join my hotspot, and they don't have to put in a password. But what you can do is you can go in and say whether or not they have to ask for approval before they can join your mobile hotspot. So for my wife, I just have her set as automatic. So there's a setting down here once you go in here that you can say, I just want to have this individual join automatically. So if she sees my hotspot in her list, she taps on it and boom, she's connected. For my son, because I don't know if he's watching YouTube or playing a game or on school, I say, you have to ask for approval, young man, before you can join on this.
Does it have the young man in
it doesn't, no, but I want to add that.
Yes,
Maybe I should just add that as my hotspot name. Like, you have to ask first, young man. But here I have him ask for approval. So even when he needs to get on, he taps on it, and it pops up on my iPhone, say, Nolan would like for you to join your hotspot. Do you allow him? And I can say yes. Now, at that point, he doesn't have to put in a password either, but he does have to ask for approval. So I just like that little tip, at least for us when we're traveling like this, that it's helpful that I don't have to mess with, sharing the password with them or giving them the password or telling them the password. They can connect to it automatically. But in this case, I can determine if they have to ask for approval. So that's under settings, under the personal hotspot, and for us, it's been very helpful when we're traveling.
And a nice little side thing of that tip is I used to use this personal hotspot sharing with my family all the time when my kids were younger, because I would often give them a hand-me-down iPhone without a SIM card in it. So it was basically like an iPod Touch when they were younger. And so they would rely upon me during travel, like you were talking about. But as they got older, both of my kids now have their own iPhone with their old SIM card, stuff like that. But although they may be in an unlimited plan, but if you have them on a limited plan, the nice thing is they could get onto the person that has the unlimited plan. Now, even with an unlimited plan, there still is a point at which if you share a whole bunch of data, AT&T or every carrier is different. AT&T, I know, they won't cut you off, but they will start to throttle it, but it's still a pretty high lit. So in terms of managing what data they have on their own plan, what data they have with your plan, it's a nice way that you can handle the sharing the data by sharing a hotspot with someone, even though in theory they could use the internet just using their built-in cellular. So it's nice to have all those different options. That's really great.
Your turn, sir.
So my tip is a travel tip, and it's one that I am still putting together my thoughts on. I'm going to do a full review on this on iPhone JD at some point soon, but I just want to talk about how incredible this app is.
Yeah, you have a full review. You did.
I'm sorry. That's right. I did post
the full review. You're ahead of yourself.
I'm ahead of myself. The Flighty app was. I was actually thinking about
it's a great
this
review
thing that I'm starting to thin my thoughts of.
Okay, good.
The Flighty app is fantastic. Let me talk about just the key of it.
Yes, this is good.
When you are traveling, you want to have that information right there at your fingertips. Where's my gate? Are things delayed? What baggage claim am I going to? You want that stuff right there at your fingertips. And other apps that I've used in the past, like for example, Tripid Pro and some of the other apps, you can get that information. But the wonderful thing about Flighty is it uses Apple's built-in notification system, so that if your phone is just sitting there, it's on your lock screen, or if you're using your phone, it's right there in front of you. If you have the brand new the 14 Pro that has the dynamic dynamic island at the top. The information is right there in the dynamic island, and it's just so useful that I'm sitting there, I'm going through emails, I'm getting ready for my flight, and at the top of my screen, I can constantly see how long before it's time to check in. Is there going to be a delay? Am I at the right gate? The app is infamous for if your gate changes, and TripIt has as well. I can see the notification right there. And so it's just empowering you to have all of this information about your flight. And one of the fun things about TripIt is it even works about Flighty, is that it even works when you're on your plane. So if you're up in the air and there's a delay or something, as long as you have some sort of internet access, whether it's that Delta-free Wi-Fi we were talking about, or even if you have the limited version, the currently free messages-only Wi-Fi that airlines like Delta offer, that's enough for it to be able to update itself. And so I just thought it was fantastic. It's a little bit expensive for the full year of it, but you can pay for a monthly subscription for like, I think it's $10 or something. And so what I did is I paid for a month when I was traveling for Christmas, and then when that, you know, the nice thing about in-app subscriptions through the App Store is I can just go in the App Store and say, turn off automatic renewal. And so now when my month comes up in a week or two, it's going to go. And then the next time that I travel, if it's another 2 or 3 months from now, I'll turn it on for that month. And so over the course of a year, you know, as long as I only use it, you know, 4 or 5 times in a year, that's probably going to be less. And if I have a year that I do tons of travel, well then I'll pay for the subscription, because I think it's $50 a year to have the full. But I was surprised. I fully expected to try this app and for me to think, you know,
don't need it.
It's nice if you really want to be a travel pro and have all the bells and whistles. But to my surprise, between flights being canceled and things being delayed and stuff like that, the information it provided was fantastic. And more importantly, it was pushed to me in a way that the information I needed was always right there in front of me. Which, you know, that's... Having the right information is key, but having it pushed to you so that it's right there in front of you made all the difference in the world. So Flighty could not get a higher recommendation from me. And you know what else, Brett? Is you and I had talked about a year or so ago about when... Actually, no. It was last summer when we first, or last fall, when we learned about the dynamic island at the top of the 14 Pro. What apps are going to take care of it? Are going to take advantage of this in a unique way? This is the poster child. I used to always think that the poster child would be an app that has an updated sports score at the top, so that you can see the score, you know, and that's a good example too. But this app, in my mind, it's the best use of Dynamic Island on the iPhone so far. Hopefully something else will come along and be even better. But right now, this is just fantastic.
I totally agree, and I know we've talked about this several weeks ago, because Jason Snell talked about that exact thing, and we got pretty excited about, hey, here's an app that has taken advantage of the live activities. I will also tell you, I downloaded Flighty after we talked about it back then, and these guys are very smart in the way that they did it. They will give you one flight on the Pro version for free. Did you do this? So it's like I didn't want to pay for it yet. I wanted to check it out, and I remember there was 4 flights that I was doing at this time, and it was just that first leg that I had all of those updates and notifications, Jeff, and that alone told me, oh, this is really good to have on there. And I didn't buy it because that was the last flight that I was doing last year. But I know when I start traveling again, I'm probably going to have to do this. So quickly, the other thing that you did is compared it to TripIt Pro. Both of us like TripIt. I used to be a subscriber, which I believe was $45 a year, or maybe $49 a year.
Yeah, it's about $50 a year.
So it's almost the same price, but you did a good job of pointing out here, TripIt will not only give you the flight information, but also your hotel, your rental car, all the other things, which is nice to have all of that in one place as well. But I felt like when I used this Flighty app, similar to I think your experience here, I was like, oh, I'm willing to put my investment in there. I'm not going to have access to the hotel information the same way that I would have it in TripIt Pro. But I stopped using TripIt Pro just because I felt like, you know, I don't know if I need to pay that much, you know, for all that information. But now I have to jump to my hotel app, I have to jump to my rental car app, and I have to jump to my flight app.
Here's what I recommend.
So I love having it all there in one place. But yeah, the Flighty app was really good. This is
you don't need to. I mean, TripIt Pro is the one that you pay for, but the free TripIt service.
Oh, that's right. You said that.
It will still create. It will handle all your itineraries. You can have a single place for your hotel, for your car rental, for your trains, for your planes.
So that's how you,
So use the free version of TripIt no matter what, because although there's one or two alternatives out there, I've been very happy with TripIt free version over the years. The question is when you want to get those extra features of notifications of flight delays and stuff like that, TripIt Pro has those features, and it will notify you largely via email, although there's some in-app notifications. Flighty,
you mentioned that on that too.
So, and then the thing is, there are actually, and I mentioned this in the review, there's a few things that TripIt Pro does that Flighty does not, and you know, so if you're a power traveler, you might want to have both of them. But I think for a lot of people, just having the free version of TripIt and either paying a year for Flighty or just pay for the months that you travel,
I like that
combination is really, really powerful.
Yeah, by the way, you also did a good job of pointing out, like, it has the gate number right there in yellow, so even if the screen goes off like we were talking about, anyway, just an excellent review. We'll make sure that we link in it here. I'm so glad that you found it so useful, and yeah, I think I'm going to have to probably do an investment when I start traveling on something like that. This has been so fun.
Yes.
My friend. Thank you for your hospitality on many levels and your wife's lovely, wonderful cooking as well. We really appreciated that. And letting us come to your wonderful law firm here and record this. And thanks for all the assistance here as well. Jimmy, thank you. He's running the boards behind the screen. So we really appreciate all that. So, same time next week? Not here, though.
Not here,
I'm afraid I'm going to be gone.
Maybe I'll show up on your desktop next.
I feel like I should come here every week, and let's just do it this way, because we've got all of the great equipment here. It's so fun to be in this city, but thank you for hosting us, Jeff. I really appreciate it. So we'll talk next week.
Sounds like a plan. Bye, everybody.
Bye.